Gnosis offers us the precise keys and methodology to scientifically experiment for ourselves each of the elements that make up this universal wisdom. These practices are not against any religion, school, or belief, but rather the contrary. They enrich and deepen our understanding of them. When man forgets himself and in turn the real meaning of his existence, he is inevitably on the path to self-destruction. When the ego is nurtured, the ethical, moral, philosophical, and spiritual principles are forgotten. These principles are what differentiate mankind from the animal kingdom, and in their absence, we are left with a simple intellectual savagery, void of the eternal principles inherent in life. We have developed this course with a didactic methodology, in particular dialect, in effort to make the field of self-knowledge easily accessible and understandable to the novice. With this, we open the once closed doors to the great Hermetic principles for us to contemplate and reflect upon. Within this course, the student will be able to enjoy the benefits of experimentation and corroboration of each of the postulates that make up the millennial Gnostic knowledge. It is vital for each one of us to verify the truth of any teachings for ourselves. Therefore, Gnostic science offers hundreds of exercises and practices that will lead to experimentation, leaving the world of theories, hypotheses, and assumptions to the side, finding real truth that serves our authentic spiritual growth. Likewise, it is important to mention that the only objective of this course is to share the Gnostic culture, free of charge. What motivates us is the fact that humanity, now more than ever, finds itself at a dead end, a victim of our own ignorance, moving further away from the eternal principles of our true nature and inner being. This course will explore both theoretical and practical methodology that covers some 20 topics that will be touched upon and studied gradually. We will study topics of profound psychology, anthropology, philosophy to understand the psychic structure of the human being and to better know our own limitations and potential possibilities. In this course, taught by instructors endorsed by the Gnostic Institution, we begin a journey through the infinite knowledge expressed through the universal Gnostic wisdom. This course was created with the intention of transmitting a message of profound self-transformation for each and every one of us. The initiation of the Gnostic knowledge is a true call to the conscience inside every human being, to better our actions and our decisions, and in turn elevate our quality of life. Through the different methodologies and an experience-based didactic, this course highlights the importance of self-discovery for each of us with respect to our true essence or being. This will allow us to achieve with clarity a conscious and transcendent path to guide us through our life. We will learn to take on our own internal world, which will inevitably lead to an expanded understanding of who we are, our internal composition, and the relationship we have with each living being, with our planet, and the universe itself. Likewise, it provides us with a fundamental knowledge of how to overcome the obstacles that exist within ourselves. The very same obstacles that prevent the harmony that is needed, both psychologically and physically, to where our internal capabilities can flow freely. Questions such as, who am I? Where was I before I was born? What is beyond death? Are all natural concerns in anyone who has reached a certain degree of inner maturity. The answers to these questions are found within the philosophical axis on which Gnosis revolves. Man, know thyself. It is through the path of self-knowledge that we can have a deeper and richer life experience, and it is through this course that we will obtain the tools to travel on our own spiritual path. Some of the topics we will study in this course are the following: Gnostic wisdom. Knowing who we are, where we come from, and where we are going has always been a fundamental aspiration of humanity. Gnosis as transcendent wisdom expressed in ancient cultures, and Gnosis as transformative wisdom that leads us to higher states of consciousness. Within the Hermetic wisdom of all times, we can find the response to this primordial need, the eternal Gnosis. The spiritual path and life. Before us, there are two paths: that which leads towards integral knowledge of ourselves and the universe that surrounds us, and that which is the routine of our day-to-day life. How does daily life relate to a spiritual path? Are they compatible? To be or not to be, that is the dilemma of philosophy. Psychic study of man. There is an inner world or psychological space where the inherent origins of all of our thoughts, feelings, and actions converge. How does the inner world relate to the external world? Let us not look outside for what is already inside. The art of truly getting to know ourselves. The human machine. Thousands of years ago, in the eastern part of our planet, a technique has been studied and practiced to achieve optimal health and prolong life. This technique is based on balancing the various energies that exist within us: thought, emotion, instinct, movement, and sex are 5 aspects of our life that we can learn to control and balance, offering us tremendous benefits. The astral unfolding. In ancient Egypt, sacred spiritual practices were taught to consciously enter the 5th dimension, or astral world. Gnostic studies have inherited these sacred keys, making them accessible for each student to enjoy such extraordinary experiences as becoming conscious in the dream world and traveling through time and space. Transcendence of dreams. Dreams offer, in their symbolic depth, a transcendent meaning to the life of the human being. Carl Jung wisely asserted that we should not underestimate our dreams, and the Talmud says that a misunderstood dream is like an unopened letter. Oniric discipline says, if dreams have oriented the lives of great men of all times, don't you think they can also guide yours? Through simple techniques, we will learn to remember our dream experiences with clarity and how to personally interpret them correctly, giving us invaluable insight into our lives. Latent within us is a faculty capable of capturing and understanding the great truths of life and death. Awaken this powerful force, our consciousness, to perceive the great reality in which we live. To do this is as natural as it is simple. The law of cause and effect. We all suffer, and worst of all, we do not truly understand the origin of our suffering. Nothing is a coincidence in life. What we do today will inevitably affect us tomorrow. It is accurately said, as you sow, so shall you reap. Understand how this metaphysical principle affects our life and how we can live better. The enigmas of death. Paradoxically, the greatest mystery in the life of man is his own death. Learn about the teachings that ancient cultures have given us in relation to this subject, and finally discover what happens to the soul after leaving your body. Return, reincarnation, and recurrence. Reincarnation is a foundational principle of many religions throughout the history of humanity. For the first 5 centuries, the idea of reincarnation was contemplated in Christianity. Have you ever dreamed that you spoke another language? That you lived in another era? That you had a different body? These may simply be memories of having existed before. The transmigration of souls. Ancient Eastern traditions attest that the soul, before reaching the human kingdom, goes through an evolutionary process, passing through the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms before reaching the human kingdom. Have you ever heard of the gnomes, goblins, or genies within nature? These are much more than ancient myths. They are realities that are an intricate part of our life and our very own existence. The world of the mind. The mind in its essential form is energy. This energy has been bombarded and conditioned by many factors of the modern world. Only by fully comprehending the mechanisms of the mind can we liberate our own mind and its infinite possibilities. There are 3 different aspects of the mind that we all possess in potential and have access to. The sensual mind is that which is filled with material concepts and ideas. The intermediate mind is that which contemplates spiritual hypotheses, both of which lacked objectivity and thus direct experimentation. The interior mind is that which is in tune with the great spiritual truths and contemplates them with deep objective and experiential investigation. It is through cultivating the interior mind that we leave all theories and doubts to one side. Atlantis and the disappeared civilizations. Before our current civilization expanded and developed over the 5 continents, there was a culture that reached far superior levels of development, both spiritually and materially. Plato speaks about this culture and civilization that lived on this earth for about 4 centuries before Christ. The new era of Aquarius. The entrance of our world under the cosmic and astrological influences of the age of Aquarius is causing great changes in the psychology and in the life of human beings. Knowing and correctly using these influences help us take our existence to a more transcendental horizon. The science of meditation. Just as a scientist uses a microscope to discover a bacterium, so does the wise man use meditation, not only to know his most intimate secrets, but also those of the universe that surrounds him. Learn about this introspective process that leads us to our own enlightenment. The sound and the chakras. The chakras are the energetic centers of the human being. When they are active, they awaken our internal senses. All Hermetic traditions mention the great power that sound innately has. Did you know that the magical combination of these sounds can awaken certain dormant faculties inside of ourselves? The origin of man. Within the studies of modern anthropology, there are tremendous contradictions when it comes to the enigma surrounding the origin of humanity. Gnostic anthropology, as an experimental science, allows us to know where we really come from, learn about the dual origin, both biological and spiritual, of the human being. Didactics for the dissolution of the ego. The Hermetic schools have taught a secret method of psychology, a technique that is possibly one of the greatest keys to transforming our lives. When applied on a personal level and practiced daily, it allows us to achieve not only the mastery, but most importantly, the destruction of the egoic energy that lives within. The same energies that condition our behavior and are the origin of all suffering. Learn how to dissolve those negative elements that limit us from reaching our true potential. Transformation of energies. The most powerful energy that man possesses is undoubtedly the sexual energy. Despite the common concept, this energy serves as much more than to simply procreate. It serves to radically transform ourselves as human beings. Harnessed optimally, the sexual energy within us produces many benefits, not only physically, but spiritually as well. From health to natural control of conception, we will explore this potent force within us to utilize it as a catalyst for deep transformation. Symbols of the sacred texts. Many believe that Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden after eating an apple. The Holy Scriptures are written with symbols, with allegories, and cannot be interpreted literally. Genesis is a true treatise on Kabbalah and alchemy. With these teachings, you will know the symbolisms of the mysteries that have been written about since the origin of humanity. The Four Paths. Throughout history, some people have turned away from the routine of life in search of something higher, a greater experience. Some took the path of the fakir, others took the path of the yogi, while others took the path of the monk. Only a few wise men have known the fourth way, the synthesis of the previous three paths, leading to true self-realization. Esoteric schools. There are many pseudo-esoteric schools nowadays. These schools lack the elements that define the true esoteric schools of human regeneration. We will study how the three factors of the revolution of the consciousness produces authentic, experiential, spiritual growth. The teachings of these sacred schools of human regeneration give rise to spiritual beings such as Jesus the Christ, Moses, Buddha, Hermes Trismegistu, and many, many more. Genealogy of religions. The study of religious principles in the individual and in society. Psychological origins of the great religions and their inherent presence in the social evolution of humanity. Through religious and cultural comparisons, it is possible to reveal the religious principles common to all religions and cultures, and know how these principles relate to human nature. The higher faculties of man. Great clairvoyants tell us about the 7 chakras, and the wise sages have described them in great detail. These chakras are really the senses of the astral body, the senses with which one can touch and feel the great realities of the superior worlds. These magnetic centers are in intimate correlation with the glands of internal secretion of our endocrine system. Elementals of nature. Nature is populated by intelligences that are inherently present in life. Being in the original state of purity, they have tremendous powers. They have been represented throughout history through all kinds of stories and legends, known as fairies, goblins, nymphs, gnomes, etc. They are the same spirits of the elements of nature. If we learn to integrate with them, they can bring us innumerable benefits. Dimensions of the universe. We live in a multidimensional world. Unfortunately, we only perceive the world of the third dimension. It is necessary to develop other faculties that allow us to experience the fourth coordinate. Within the occult anatomy of every human being lies the internal senses that we possess. These senses are in a dormant state, but can be awakened and nurtured through a scientific spiritual practice, giving us not only access, but the ability to experience the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensions. If you want to know a horizon of infinite possibilities that are opened through the Gnostic knowledge, we invite you to register for this course. Because, like the great Greek philosopher Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living, leading us to understand that if we take the time to reflect about our own existence, there is much to be discovered.